Emergency care. Make a difference. Help save lives by giving blood or platelets. Use the Blood Donor app. Visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make an appointment today.
Okay, we're going after this. I've got your intro.
Skies are going to filter in for the rest of the day today. High temperatures still stay in the 50s. Overall, not bad. So we're looking ahead to, of course, chance of showers building back in by late this afternoon. Upper 30s overnight tonight with scattered shower chances. Coming into Friday, a little lower shot on Saturday. The temp staying at 50 for the first part of the weekend. Upper 40s on Sunday with a much more solid chance of rain returning. From Severe Weather Center 9, the meteorologist Keith Monday for High Country Radio.
Have you ever wondered what it takes
Really
to be a foster parent? In Watauga County, there is a pressing need for foster homes. The great news is, you can be single or married. There are no particular income requirements, and you can live in Watauga County or surrounding counties. To find out if you might be a good fit, call Jessica Weinbarger now at 828-265-8100 or email her at jessica.weinbarger@watgov.org.
I'm really struggling, and I'm just looking for help.
I've had advice given to me, but it was confusing and didn't really work.
Recovery Talk helped me help a friend.
I like it. You can call in and talk about your problems. They offer solutions. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
Talk helps.
Have a problem? Know someone who does?
Come on in.
Call us.
Excuse me, guys.
828.
I'm going to shadow today. And I'll be quiet.
Come on in.
567.
There you go.
Morning, Todd.
Recovery Talk on WATA.
Good morning and welcome to Recovery Talk. We took a break last week and hopefully it didn't put anybody out. I know tons of you are just waiting to hear this show every week. But we're back and we got a new guest with us today, and we hope to bring a little hope and help for the hurting people that are being affected either personally or no friends or whatnot with substance abuse. This show is brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local mechanic shop here in town, and it's a special place because it serves a dual purpose. It serves first, it's a place to where you could come and get good professional work done on your vehicle. If you buy a brand new part from Freedom Auto Tech, it actually comes with warranty to your 24,000 miles. But you can also understand the other purpose, which is all the profits and proceeds go to support substance abuse recovery right here in High Country through the Ministry of Freedom Farm. So if you got your engine light on, or you got a clank under the hood, or something's not feeling right on your steering wheel, give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. They're ready to get you on the schedule and get your car fixed. I also want to share with the audience something we got coming up here, April 13th. That's a Saturday between 1 to 3. If you're listening to this station, you've probably heard it on the Swap Shop and whatnot, but it's called the Born Again Walk for Addiction Recovery Awareness Walk. And this is an event to honor loved ones lost to addiction and provide recovery information to anyone dealing with addiction. So actually, if you are interested in supporting addiction, getting behind, being an advocate for recovery from addiction, this is a great cause to come out and be a part of. It's just going to be a walk on the Greenway. It's between 1 and 3 Saturday, April 13th, and it's at Clausen Burnley Park, which is right across from the Armory. So if you have any other questions, you can call Addie Bobbitt at 386-717-0267. That's 386-717-0267. And get involved. $25 registration fee. Go walk. You get a T-shirt. Get to meet people. It'll be a great time. So come out April 13th between 1 and 3. And show some support for recovery here in the High Country. All right, so this morning we are blessed to have my friend Matt King here with us. Matt has been here in the High Country for about how long?
About 6 months.
About 6 months. Came to us via Ohio, and whenever I hear Well, I'm 43 years old. So how old are you?
30.
30. So there was this really corny movie back when I was growing up. It was called Back to the Beach. It had Annette, I forgot, from the Mickey Mouse Club. And there's a scene. Do you know what I'm talking about? I forgot the guy's name, but he was an old beach bum. Or do you remember his name? Anyway. There's a scene where the whole family goes to the beach and they came from Ohio, and he gets really intoxicated, and he wakes up the next morning, and all he keeps saying is, why oh did I ever leave Ohio? So that was dumb. But anyway, Matt, thanks for coming in and sharing a little bit of your hope and your journey with us here this morning on the show. So I already told you where he's from, so I'll just let Matt pick it up from there.
I'll start with my childhood. I had a pretty good upbringing for the most part. Not so much with my mom, but with my dad. My mom, she left when I was a baby. Came back in my life when I was about 5, 6. But I was very fortunate that my dad met my stepmom raised me. So I call her mom. She's more of a motherly figure than my mom. But my dad, he was pretty rough on us when it came to like he embedded sports in us. So like I really made sports my idol. Like that's all I lived for pretty much, like sports, baseball, basketball, football. But we had some family issues. Like my family would have disagreements, and then I wouldn't really be allowed to associate with some of my family, and it kind of gave me a bad taste for love. Like I didn't have the motherly love. It was pretty much just me, my dad, my mom, my grandma. But pretty much like my senior year was when everything really crumbled for me though. I lost 2 of my grandparents my senior year. My dad was going through some issues because him and my stepmom were going through divorce, and he tried to commit suicide a few times. And then my cousin, who lived beside me for my whole life, pretty much, both of us seniors in high school, he actually committed suicide, and that's when everything really started taking a turn for me. Started drinking.
There's a lot of pain and death and destruction to be experienced around you.
Yeah, it was a hard time. Like it was so unexpected.
So you say basically into high school is when you started to kind of take a nosedive. Yeah,
it was really my senior year, like my freshman year through junior year. Like I was good. I had A/B student, occasional C. Great athlete. Was going to go to college to play baseball, and then when my cousin killed himself, I decided to take a year off, and I landed a job at the prison at 18. So I was like, making good money, and then decided not to go back to school. And then when I had the good money coming in, I really started drinking a lot. And my mom, as much as she wasn't there for me, she was that mom that like could get away with anything. Buying cigarettes for me at 13, 14. But I really started drinking heavy.
This was your biological mother doing that stuff?
Mm. Yeah. But
when I was growing up, we always liked knowing kids that had parents like that.
Yeah, she was definitely a partier. I mean, she's calmed down a lot drinking, but that stopped probably about 3 years ago. But that's who I would always like when I would relapse and get put out. That's where I would go.
So when you say you got at 18, you got a job at the jail. So what was that? I kind of know, but I just want you to explain.
I got the job as a correctional officer. It was a state job, so I was making good money, good retirement. Everything was looking up,
And your biological father worked there too, right?
He still does, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Him and his new wife both work at the women's prison in Marysville, Ohio.
Oh, so you didn't work at the same prison as your dad? You just kind of same type of job?
Yeah, he worked at a women's prison. I worked at a men's prison.
Okay. So 18, making some decent money, starting to drink a lot.
Yeah, and then the prison went private after I was there for 5 years, and I didn't know if I'd have enough seniority to be able to transfer. So that caused more stress. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to drink, pull my retirement, and then I went on an experimental phase for about 3 months where I tried different drugs, cocaine. Didn't do anything too hard then. And then when it went private, I left to go work on the railroad, and I got laid off. So then I went back to the private company and landed a job as a supervisor. And I was there for 2 years. And then about a year and a half into it, I met my wife. She was a nurse there.
So real quick, because I don't want to get lost, but so you said 5 years into the job, so you're about 23. You just decided to pull retirement and go into an experimental.
Yeah.
Okay, so you experimented for 3 months.
Yeah, about 3 months.
Okay.
I pulled about $14,000, bought a motorcycle, and partied the rest of it away.
Okay, so were you traveling the country or anything, or you just driving around town?
My best friend,
James Dean, rebel with a cause.
Yeah, my best friend at the time, his brother-in-law he introduced me to like Percocets and ecstasy. And I was like, well, I kind of like this, so I'm gonna keep going with it. But I held a limit. Like, I used to be like total anti-drug. I kicked my brother out for smoking weed, like with absolute. And then I don't just snap a finger. I mean, I had a lot of build-up emotions that I never dealt with. Like with my cousin, I never really grieved. With my mom, which I still have issues with my relationship now, which I believe stems from that. The not having really that motherly love growing up, so it kind of affects my relationship now, which I'm trying to work on. But my best friend's brother-in-law is the one that introduced me to it.
Okay. So 3 months, and then you said, hey, I need to... Then you went to the railroad, and that didn't last. That lasted a little bit.
Yeah, they laid off after like 3 months. I was the conductor, did away with third shift, so I went back.
You drove train? Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay. So, and then back to the private company, supervisor, and met your wife.
Yes.
Okay. And how old were you when you met your wife?
26.
26, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got everything straight.
Yeah. When it was privately owned, it was, it was not as good as the state, really. They kind of had what we used to call it was hug-a-thug mentality. They let the inmates get away with a lot. So when I got the supervisor position, it was like, 27 years old, or 26 years old, and I'm like, how do I handle supervising inmates when I can't supervise them the way I know, you know what I mean? And then on top of supervising staff. So then I ended up getting involved with an inmate, which not a lot of people know about that, but he was a big-time drug lord out of Cleveland, and I was going to get paid like $10,000 to meet up with my best friend's brother-in-law. Had the Percocets coming in, and we were going to meet his wife in Toledo and drop off these Percocets. And then the first drop that was supposed to happen, they picked up on because a buddy of mine actually overheard the conversation on the phone that I had, and I ended up getting busted. When I didn't get busted, I resigned before.
Okay, so supervising, discontent, you get involved in a serious drug deal, first time you get busted.
Yeah, well, yeah. When I went to work, they said don't pull the inmate out of his cell, which I already knew. So after that day, I just called in and resigned.
So
but I had been...
Let's stop there because we got 10 seconds. We'll come back. We'll pick it up right from there. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
Okay, so what I
Bagel
do is so Dave Ramsey typically runs during this time of the day. So what all those mixed volumes that I was cutting, that's the commands to bring him in live.
So he's normally on.
Right. So I was cutting all the commands to go to and from breaks there.
So you're actually counting down to the breaks at normal.
When I was giving him like 3 or 5.
Normally Dave is on.
So I didn't say that's what.
Yeah. So
How
that's
long
what
is
he's
your break?
doing. He's telling me how much.
Yeah,
to
so
the
that
break.
10:46,
Okay.
at 10:45 I gave him the 1, and then 30 seconds, then 10 seconds. So yeah.
Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello.
That's what it is, Frankie Avalon, isn't
I
that?
could remember Annette Funicello, but I couldn't remember Frankie. That's why we were over here Googling it, because it drove me
Frankie.
crazy. Frankie and Annette.
Yeah.
It's such a ridiculous movie.
1987, Back to the Beach. Well, I was right there with you. I was like,
What is it?
I'm like, Because
Frankie
they did
had
all
one.
those cheesy movies, back in the day. It was great.
That was a cheesy one.
That was good. Cheese was good.
Because he was famous in like beach movies in like the 60s, right?
Oh yeah, they were Frankie and Annette were like they did all those beach movies. Man.
Right.
They were the stuff back in the day.
Why, oh, why did I ever leave Ohio?
But what I typically bring headphones so I can monitor
Yeah, I was going to say
their
how
volume. You can plug it in with their splitter right here, but I just didn't bring mine. But what I also like to do is I will find one of my favorite Christian songs that are either today or old. This is an old one, but and I'll play it as bump.
bump it into
So during
in and out or what?
well, for sometimes out, it just depends. But during the break, I'll try and find a good point to come in. That's probably good enough to start it there.
This is the first time I've been in their studio actually. This is actual board we used to have exactly in
So you
Greensboro.
you showed me the picture, yeah.
Yep, this is the same board we have in our production studio in Greensboro.
Yeah.
Only the best here.
Yeah.
I was noticing the taters growing in between the pots here. I'm gonna get some alcohol and swabs in here. Right?
It is kind of gross.
Gracious, look at that.
Careful. Now you gotta take a shower.
What do you do now? That is just nasty. Not that I'm clean, but that's just.
Yeah, it's
Good
gross.
gracious.
I mean, look at that. It hasn't been touched in years. I don't know
We have a
how.
paper towel right down the hall.
I don't know how Fish comes in here and does his show like this every day.
Look at,
have
look
to
at
have
those
it.
keyboards. It's like the dust.
Yeah, that too. Look at that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go get a can of air and me some alcohol and some swabs and go to town.
It is
I've already
kind
cleaned the
of gross.
board in there. It had some kind of living growth blob thing. I mean, it was gooey and sticky. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just couldn't touch it anymore. I had to get in there.
Golly.
Got it off the other day. So
Shoot.
one down, a couple more studios to go.
So
All right, so we're
after this, I've unplugged the ID, so we'll hit the ID right at
You're doing
11.
good, man. So
But then I'll play this.
all over the place, but
no, you're not.
Coming
Oh, they
back
took
in.
our clock out.
It's
Oh, it's up
behind
there.
you. I know, yeah. That way Fish can see it, I guess, but now you can't see it from over this way.
Oh,
Now, 96.5 FM.
When is it
They did clean up in here because that was on the floor.
Route 66.
your house?
well, they brought the old desk.
Here we go.
Brought that one in.
This is why I like to monitor, so I'll fade it in, but I'll just do it blind today.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk. Recovery Talk is a show to try to bring hope and help for those hurting from the scourge of addiction. Freedom Auto Tech is the show's official sponsor. They're a local auto shop here in town that is ready to give you professional work on your vehicle while at the same time going to support men in addiction recovery through the Ministry of Freedom Farm. Give them a call if you got your engine light on or need some work done to your car. They're running a couple specials now. You can check them out online or on Facebook, or give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Again, I want to promote this this Walk for Addiction Recovery Awareness that's going to be happening here April 13th, 2019 at the Greenway. It's at Clawson Burnley Park. That's across from the Armory, and it'll be registration opens at 12:30. The walk is from 1 to 3. It's $25. You get a shirt. You get to mingle with other people in the community that are wanting to bring more awareness and give people resources and information to help battle addiction. If you have any more questions or need any more information, give a call to Addie Bobbitt, 386-717-0267, 386-717-0267. Matt, back to you. Where we left off on your story is you're a supervisor at a prison. You're working for a private company now, and you get hooked up with a big drug dealer and go on some kind of a meetup to procure drugs for a deal, and your fellow worker overheard you making a deal on the phone and you kind of knew it was going down at the prison, and you resigned before they could fire you.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll back up a little bit, because how the inmate knew that I was involved was, like, I had a daily routine, and it's kind of crazy because this is probably about 6 months after I had met my wife. I started doing the Percocets myself, and I was doing them at work, and I was pretty much doing 5 or 6 Percocet 30s a day at work, and then the inmate could tell, and then that's how that got brought up. So I was doing drugs while working at a prison, as bad as that sounds, and that's how it all came about with the inmate.
You remember, you're not the first corrections officer we've had in here on the show. So.
And then once I resigned, that's when it really went downhill. I had got with about a month prior to that, one of my lieutenants ended up losing his job, and I knew he had done pills. But I ended up getting a place with him, and that was about 3 months after that is when the first time I had tried heroin. And I was always really scared to do heroin.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, just trust me, my girl will will shoot you up. And the first time that I ever got shot up was at my neck, and it was over with from there. And that was about 3 to 6 months after I had resigned from the prison.
I'm going to stop there for a second and just kind of give people that are listening, maybe and going to watch later, a little education on what's just happened, because people kind of wonder, how does a guy taking pharmaceuticals go to doing street heroin? First, what you're referring to, Percocet, this is kind of regional, because depending upon what region you're in, what you're talking, you said Perc 30s. So kind of like northerner people call them Perc 30s. Down in South Florida, we call these blues or Roxys. So most people that have been given a Percocet after having a procedure done know about a 5 or 10 milligram Percocet. So what those are big white pills, right, that have a lot of acetaminophen in them, which is Tylenol, mixed with a 10% of this pain medication, which is this roxicodone or oxycodone. And so they came out back in the day, I don't know how long ago, with a pill that took out the acetaminophen and put in 20 more milligrams of this pain medication. So it's this little teeny blue pill like this big. So what used to be a Percocet 10, which was a very strong thing, there's 3 of those in one of these pills now, and you no longer have the acetaminophen, which the acetaminophen, if you take too much of it, everybody knows, will ruin your liver. So they take that part out of it now. And these things are highly, highly addictive. So at my height of my drug, this was my drug of choice. At the height of my addiction, I could take 30 of those in a day. So if you can imagine someone that had a 10 milligram Percocet, I was taking 90 of those in a day. So anyway, so how does someone taking those things, they're highly addictive, number one, but they're also very expensive, and you are a person that's now physically dependent on these things, and they quickly become physically dependent. It only takes a short amount of time to where your body starts feeling it if you do not have these. And so someone that says, like you, I would never do something like heroin, I would never use a needle, you're already physically addicted to these very expensive pills. You are feeling sick. Someone puts in front of you a cheaper option, which is street heroin, and says, hey man, it's the same thing. When your inhibitions are down, when you're feeling, you're almost right there on the edge, and it's easy to say, okay, I'll try it, because your body's kind of screaming for relief. So you do it. Next thing you know, you're a heroin addict, because it's a cheaper alternative. And once you've, like you said, tried the needle, it's instantaneous. So, okay.
Just like you'd said, it's exactly what it was. You're paying, at this point, $35 for one pill opposed to $20. And at first, I could make $20 last me 2 days.
Right.
But...
And a pill would last you half a day. If you had a serious addiction, it would last you, a few hours. So.
Yeah. So my wife, she 6 months, all she knew me sober pretty much, and she stuck with me for 6 years now, always by my side. But the heroin made me so selfish, and so all I cared about was that drug. Nothing else around me mattered, and I'm still ultimately paying for that today. You know, it's pretty much having to get to know each other in a way. 'Cause, you know, it's a lot of time, you know, 6 years, 5.5 years of active addiction with someone that you love. And sometimes it's hard to remember those good times because you have so much bad. And that's exactly what that drug will do to you.
So when you got with your wife, you said she did know you sober?
Yeah.
Okay, for how long?
About 6 months.
6 months. Then you got caught up, and knows you now 6 years doing what you're doing.
Right. And it's always leaving her, you know. She took most of the brunt from me. Like my family, I never really stole from my family. Like her, she's a nurse, she has money. So, and I would steal from the kids. Like I was a monster. Like heroin made me a full-blown monster. And it was very dark.
Were you able to maintain employment at all during the 6 years, or?
No. I was terrible. Like I don't even know how many jobs. It was in and out of factories, get sick, not have any money, walk out of my job. But at the time me and my wife had split up in 2013, but the very first job I got after I left the prison, I got a phone call, my last day orientation, from my ex telling me that she had to talk to me and that I had a son, and my son was 2 weeks old. So it was like, I'm not blaming that reason, but that was like, stressor, that was an excuse for me to continue to get high. And then ultimately the same thing that my mom did to me growing up, I've done to my son, which I wish I would have came to Christ before then and known how to handle that differently, because I haven't seen my son in 3 years now because of my addiction, which was just heroin. That is so powerful and straight from the devil that it's caused me, you know, to neglect my son, which I'm working on right now.
Did you ever have any spots of recovery or sobriety during the 6 years?
Yes, I had one. It was a secular program. It was co-ed, so you had the guys that stayed downstairs, girls who stayed upstairs, and again, my wife supported me through this, and I wasn't ready. And it's secular. The only thing secular programs get right is one day at a time. They really don't work.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about that, but we're on a break, so stay with us, and we're going to pick back up right when we come back.
All right.
About halfway done, man. So you're doing great.
Thanks.
I know Braxton gives this very calming sense.
I don't know about that.
So.
The High Country Information Station.
We gotta
So,
go
yeah.
to that North Carolina.
Oh, it goes an hour and 30 minutes. I thought you said
11:30.
Oh, okay. So when they're on and Dave's not, where is Dave coming out on the board?
Just our program, auto program here. When they're done.
But why is he not on if the pot's up right now?
Oh, because I cut all the triggers.
Oh, you cut the okay.
All those mixed volumes are triggers.
Okay.
And so when I cut all those, it doesn't have the command to pick him up live.
Do you have to click them back on, or does it come back?
No, it's already in the log.
Okay.
So you can know this. We take precedence over Dave Ramsey.
That's right.
One of the top radio personalities in the country.
I guess we're coming
Do what
back.
you got to do. Don't sit here and get distracted by me asking all those dumb questions.
No.
Tempting is 50 for the first part of the weekend, upper 40s on Sunday.
I guess we're coming back right here. I guess there's no news for whatever reason.
Oh, that's weird.
This is WATA, AM 1450 and 96.5 FM.
I've had bad days, tasted victory in defeat. I've had problems, biggest panic.
Okay.
The pebble when it speaks. I've had nothing.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. Recovery Talk's brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local shop here in town, mechanics shop here in town, that's ready to service all of your vehicle needs. And at the same time, the profits and proceeds are going to support men in long-term recovery here in the High Country through Freedom Farm Ministries. If you got any issues with your car, this is a professional shop. Give them a call, 828-355-4434. It's 828-355-4434. They're running some specials right now, $30 oil change, up to 5 quarts of regular oil and filter. They got 20% off, I believe, your bill if you're a first-time customer. And if you need a brake job done, I believe they're giving 50% off brake pads right now. So give them a call if you need something done with your car, 828-355-4434. Also want to continue to highlight throughout this show this event coming up in April 13th. Registration opens at 12:30 for the Walk for Addiction Recovery Awareness. So this is a group. We're going to get together and walk, and just to kind of bring attention and awareness to recovery, people that have lost loved ones, people that need information with recovery, or anyone dealing with addiction. There'll be people there. I will be there. Registration opens at 12:30. It's $25. You get a shirt, and you get to walk, and you get to meet people, and you get to show your support. $25, 1 to 3 over at Clawson Burnley Park, which is the park on the Greenway across from the Armory. So if you have any more questions or need some more information, call Addie Bobbitt, 386-717-0267. It's 386-717-0267. If you want to know Addie, Addie actually was on the show. She did a show with me, and you can go on Recovery Talk on Facebook and look at past shows and find Addie. Addie's an amazing woman that lost her own daughter to an overdose a few years ago, and she has made it her life's mission to go to support recovery, especially women's recovery, because the proceeds from this walk are going to go to Carries Home for Women, which is a very small but up-and-coming women's program here. Anyway, Matt, back to your story, my friend. Take us. When we went to break, you were at a secular recovery place. How long ago was that?
2014.
2014. Okay, 2014. How long of a program was it? Was it in Ohio?
Yeah, it was actually in my hometown. I think it was a 6 month, 3 to 6 month program.
Okay. Did you stay for 6?
No.
Okay.
I actually got kicked out because I got involved with a female there, being co-ed.
I'll tell you, I have a strong opinion on places that, I'm not saying that there isn't a possibility to do co-ed recovery. I just don't think they can do them and have them together. You guys are in the same building.
Same building,
yeah. I mean, in my experience, it's just a environment for nonsense. I went to a program one time down in Florida. I won't mention the name of the place, but it was a state-run facility, and the women's place was a lockdown clinical thing next door to the men's. And there was a backyard where we both were allowed to go out and smoke, the men and the women. And there was like a 12-foot privacy fence. But like these places are always. I just lost my ear in the mic.
Gotcha. Keep going.
These places are always understaffed and underfunded. So it was real easy to create an environment back in that corner where guys were jumping over the fence and crazy stuff was going on. Just to say, I've never had any experience or heard any really positive stories that had women and men in close proximity like that. So here's another story. It didn't work out really well, and you got kicked out of the place for getting involved with a woman. Yeah. All right. So did you? How long would you say were you there?
Probably like 2.5 months.
2.5 months. Okay. And did you learn anything? Get anything out of it, or one day at a time?
One day at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about the gist of it.
I don't think I spent a lot of time in secular recovery, and I don't think I have. I at one time had a real negative view about it, but I've actually kind of come more right of center on secular recovery. You know, I learned a lot of really good little things out of it. You know, one day at a time is definitely one of them. You know, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt. You know, you got to stop if you're one of those things. You know, there's a lot of easy does it. You know, a lot of that kind of stuff I learned, and it's still in my head today. and I want to give them credit for that. But yeah, ultimately it wasn't the answer for me. So anyway, you got out 2014. What happened next?
I ended up moving back to my mom's, drinking again, and it was just a matter of time that within a couple months was back using. And then I ended up getting on the Vivitrol shot, which is like a blocker. I don't know if people don't know about it. It's like a blocker that you get. It's a shot.
Lasts for a month. Costs it's expensive.
Like $1,200 per shot.
So they give you a shot, and if you try to take opiates, it won't work. And I think it affects alcohol too. Like it'll make you sick if you drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I started, I justified it as like, well, I'm not using heroin. So then I started shooting crack, smoking crack. And in my mind, I was like, that's okay. I'm not using opiates. It's crazy thinking. It's just what the drugs will do to you. Ended up experimenting with acid while I was on the shot. But I would always try to justify ways to, like about 3 months into the shot, I would take the money for like copay that I would say I had to pay and wouldn't get the shot, and then went right back out to using. I just wasn't ready, and I went on, and then right after that I ended up overdosing. I've overdosed 5 times. One time I had overdosed. I was on my way to work. Overdosed, came through before the squad got there, and I was on my way to work, and I still had the same dope I just overdosed on, and shot it up again. And I drove a forklift. That's how crazy this drug will do. What it'll do to you.
So you overdosed, and you were revived by medics.
No, they poured water on me.
Okay.
CPR.
They got you back, and then you shot up again with the same dope.
20 minutes later. I was like angry. Like I wasn't high. I was angry. I wasn't high.
They didn't give you Narcan. They just revived you.
It was just my friend. Yeah, they just.
Oh, your friends.
I wouldn't consider them friends now.
Okay. So, interesting. You brought up Vivitrol because our country is now, through our government, is trying to combat the opioid epidemic here in the country. 52,000 people out of the 72,000 people that died in 2017 were because of opiates. So the number of total deaths of overdose, 72,000, 52 of those are opiates. So they're trying to figure out how to combat that. They've passed a $5 billion bill that will address specifically the opioid epidemic, and this is what they are going to really throw money at. Vivitrol, buprenorphine, which is in the form of Suboxone, Subutex. These are all medications that block the receptors in your brain so that you can't ingest an opiate and it work. So that's what these things ultimately do. And would you say that would probably be a good solution to this problem?
For the opioid, yes, but until you're absolutely ready, and for me, it was submitting to Christ. Until I was absolutely ready and did not want that lifestyle, you're going to find other ways. Like in my hometown, heroin was hard to find, and then meth took over because so many people was on the Vivitrol shot. So if you're not completely ready, you're going to substitute one thing for another. So it's great for the opioid epidemic, yes, but people are going to find ways around it if they're not fully ready.
Would you say that when you say something that is great for the opioid epidemic is that it'll probably help stop people from dying?
From dying, yes.
But it necessarily won't help people with addiction in general?
No, not addiction.
Okay. Interesting. It's a good way to look at it, because there's another thing. When I first heard about it, I was just like, this is going to do nothing, but I'm not thinking about it as will it save lives? Probably will. It probably will save lives, but it won't ultimately treat addiction, because addiction isn't the opioid itself. It isn't the drug itself. It's the underlying reasons why people are doing the drug and the irrational behavior. You're driving a forklift, you overdosed, and 20 minutes later you're using the same drug that you overdosed. Almost died. What is that irrationality behind all of that? Why do people do that kind of stuff? A shot's not going to fix that irrationality. You found your answer, you said, in submitting to Christ and wondering what that meant. Interesting, before the show, I asked you a little bit about, I was kind of telling you about how to tell your story a little bit, and you made a comment to me. You said, I came to Freedom Farm specifically to learn about Christ because I figured that the help for addiction would just come after that.
Yeah. You know, I've went to church back home, but I wasn't really there. I was still getting high at church, or going to church high. But there's no other way to, and it's not, addiction is just such a small thing in everyone's lives that Christ can help you with. And I was at ends meet, like I didn't know what other direction to turn, and I'm looking around and seeing all these people at church, and it's like, man, they have such great lives and so much joy. Like, I want that, and there was no other way. And like I said, addiction is such a small piece that can bring that God can help me overcome to bring that joy in my life that I was eager to learn about. And it took me 24 hours when my aunt brought the proposition to me to come here. And she was like, they all had the impression, this is going to help you with your addiction, but I had a bigger picture, not just to beat the addiction, because there's so many areas in my life that I need to work on, my relationships, being a father, and Christ can help me with that, other than just the addiction part. So that's why one of the main reasons I came to Freedom Farms was to learn about Christ to help me in all areas of my life, not just the addiction.
It's a blessing to hear. So, so back in Ohio, 2014. Obviously, it's 2019. You came in 18. But tell us about before what was happening, and then kind of what kind of basically brought you to that point where you were Aunt was bringing you hey, you need to go to this place.
Like I said, my family, I didn't really. The worst part for my family was they knew, but they didn't know. I kind of shut them out, and then my dad would text me I'd always know when you relapsed because you wouldn't be texting about Buckeye basketball or Buckeye football or whatever. And then July, when my wife took me back for the last time when we first got back together before my daughter was born, she told me, she was like, if you relapse one more time, I have to let you go. And I relapsed. Well, when my aunt brought this to me about being a Christ-centered rehab, I did meth for the first time on July 17th, the day after my son's birthday. And just in that short time from July 17th to August 10th, which was the last time I used because I didn't want to come down here sick or whatever. But I came to her and I was like, you're probably done with me. We just had our daughter, and I'm sorry I relapsed, but this is what I have in store for me. I got a sponsor that's willing to pay to send me to this to learn about Christ, and somehow she found it in her heart to allow me to do it. And I've known from day one that her being the Christian lady that she is, she's the one for me. And it opened my eyes, and God has a plan for me, and He wanted me to come to Creston that on August 20th to get to know Him and what is available for me. And I'm just blessed to be here.
So you get to the point to where you are pretty hopeless, and you get a bright shining hope, and you decide to take advantage of the situation that's put in front of you. I was kind of curious, how did the option of going from Ohio to Creston, how did they find that option?
My third cousin.
Did someone? Oh, a third cousin?
Yeah, I talked to you about it before. I can't remember what his name is though. Cause I don't. Well, we got family everywhere. But she said that he's very successful. I can't remember. Do you remember what his name is?
I think we talked about it, but now I'm starting to remember this conversation. But you had a third cousin that had come here, and we never really determined what his name was. I mean, Freedom Farm's been open now almost 15 years, and we've had thousands of guys come through. So, I want to know, because if he's really successful, we need him to become a donor.
You said you have him on Facebook.
I did?
Yeah, he's from Florida. Oh, I can't remember his name.
Anyway,
yeah. She said how successful it was and how great of a program it was. And like I said, I didn't want to do the secular route.
Again. Okay.
And ended up coming here with 10 days after after it was proposed to me, because I took a week to spend with my wife and the kids. Took them to the zoo, spent some quality time with them before I came, because you know
it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
All right, so when we come back, we'll pick it up from there and we'll talk about what it's been like since you got here.
Cool, man.
This will be the last stretch, 12 minutes.
That's a really good story. It really is. And I think it's in Matthew where Jesus is telling his disciples, where it's like, he says, you will be tested. It's going to happen, but I'm going to pray that you persevere through it and that your faith is strengthened through the test. Like, you know, we're going to have stuff that is going to be difficult, but it's awesome to know that the Lord is there praying, like really praying for us while we're going through. He knows before, like he knows right when we're on the edge of the test, and he knows when we're going through it, and then he's there to be that help when we need him. And then, like you said, it's addiction is not the only thing in your life. It's just one thing, and it oftentimes can be the worst thing. But there's so many other things that we neglect our faith for. And you know, when you're able to understand that, that's the beginning to where the Lord would like us to be near to Him. I've always said, my desire to be like Christ must be stronger than my desire to be like me.
See, that's one of the main things I've learned since I've been here. You know, striving to be in the image, you know, to be created in the image of God.
Right.
Like, addiction is such a small part. You know, there's so much stuff in the gospel that you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be to your wife, how you're supposed to be to your kids.
Exactly.
And,
Do you know Carol Springer? Thank you, Carol.
Also, did you get in contact with my dad? You emailed him yet?
I've never emailed him.
Dang. It's okay. It's okay. We got.
You know what I did? I lost that paper you gave me, his contact information.
I can write you a new one.
Send me a text.
That'd be better.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And Saturday 9 to 4. MooseBoots.com.
Wilson's mom. Hey, Carol, that's who you are. Here we go. Welcome back to Recovery Talk. It's been nice having Braxton on the show with us today. Still playing really loud. So.
Shoot.
Yeah, sorry. Welcome back to Recovery Talk. If you couldn't hear me, I was just saying it was nice to have Braxton on the show, but he didn't turn the volume down.
Right when you start complimenting me, I just screw it up.
Want to say hi to a couple people who've been watching. There's Cody, and we saw Amanda, Gary. Of course, Todd is watching. Carol Springer, her son just came to the program a week ago or so, and he's doing really well. Nona's watching now. But hey, Recovery Talk is our last little section before we call it a day. And I want to get right back to Matt's story because he's got a lot to tell us about his journey since he's gotten here. But real quick, shout out to the sponsor, Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a local auto shop in town here, ready to give you professional service done on your vehicles. And you can know confidently that the profits and proceeds are going to support a good cause, which is Freedom Farm Ministries, which is giving long-term care to men that are struggling with substance abuse and introducing them to the person of Jesus Christ in order to break those bondages. Also want to give a shout out to for those on Facebook Live. This is the Walk for Addiction Recovery Awareness Walk. It's happening Saturday, April 13th, at Clawson Burnley Park, which is on the Greenway across from the Armory. Registration opens at 12:30. It's $25. $25. You get a shirt out of it, and you get to go and show your support for recovery here in the High Country. And you know, it's a little piece of the big picture. We got this idea. Addie got this idea from being a part of a walk in Alabama. Thousands of people showed up. We hope to get hundreds at least, and maybe this thing grow. But $25, and know that the profits from that go to help a small women's program here that's up and coming called Carry Some for Women. The walk is from 1 to 3. You can walk 5 minutes. You can walk a couple hours. You can do whatever you want. Come out and show your support. April 13th between 1 and 3. Registration opens at 12:30. Have any other questions, give Addie Bobbitt a call, 386-717-0267. That's 386-717-0267. Addie Bobbitt, she's ready to give you some help and information about that walk. Okay, Matt. So you took the opportunity to finally come to Creston. I don't know how much you knew what you were getting involved in. You knew it's a year. You took a little bit of time to say goodbye to everybody, and then came. But I don't know if you were watching or looking at her Facebook page and knew what you were getting involved in. What did you think, as far as what your expectations were, and then showing up in Creston?
I was nervous. I've never really been out of the state of Ohio. Didn't really know what I was getting into. I just knew that a distant relative was successful through the program, and it was through Christ. And my aunt, she's a firm believer in Jesus, and she was telling me how great of a program it is. And I said, I was just like I said, I didn't want the lifestyle no more. I knew I needed something, and as much as I was nervous and I wanted to come, but there was that hesitation, that's 8 hours away from family, and just had my daughter. I don't want to miss, I already missed so much of my son's life, now I'm going to have to miss a year of my daughter's life, but, really, what's 1 year for the rest of your life, and when I got to Creston, it was just settled in. The guys are great. I felt welcomed. It was nice knowing that I was, welcomed with open arms.
And from what you were just saying, hard to be 8 hours away from all this stuff. It's kind of intentional. Guys like me and you, I had to come from South Florida, which is 12 hours away, 12 and a half, to Creston. You had to come from, and you go from being accessible to all this, to all this distraction and everything, to Creston. You're in the middle of nowhere, right? It's beautiful out there, but you don't have a lot of pressures that are able to get a hold of your attention right away. So you felt welcomed, and your experience at Safe House, Restoration. I remember you at Restoration. I remember a couple of conversations with you. There was quite a bit of trials for you as far as just facing yourself and the environment. You're with a whole bunch of guys that you don't, necessarily you wouldn't choose to be with, right? Guys coming off, serious mind-altering substances and not having them, years and years of damage, and they're all coming off at the same time. And you're living together, so you wouldn't, average person would say, how in the world does that even work, So, but you pushed through. I remember, not to get into details, I remember confronting, or not just confronting you, you actually would bring to me, as we would talk, or you talk to other people, it's like, hey, I'm really frustrated with this, right? And all we simply try to do, the guys that have been there and have been through it, is try to give you a different perspective of it. Hey, why don't you, I know you're looking at it like this way, but try to maybe look at it from this way, right? And you were willing to do that, man. You really were. There's a lot of times you're willing to just say, hey, you know what, maybe I don't got this all figured out. Maybe I need to look at this a little bit differently. And you started to do that. You started to grow. So, man, I was really proud of you, seeing some of the, honestly, I thought that you weren't going to last. I really did. I don't, say that proudly or anything, but I was just like, man, this guy gets too frustrated too quick. I thought you were going to just one day just kind of like, screw this, I'm out of here. And I think you probably got there a couple times.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah, I'm definitely quick to anger. There's a few times that, we butted heads, and I tend to think before I speak, or speak before I think. But I've with my growth, I've learned to step back and evaluate the whole situation before I speak, and it's really helped me. I think it's James. My spiritual gift is not Bible. Remember Bible verses, but I think it's James where he talks about be slow to anger. And
it is.
Yeah.
See, look at that. Yeah. You do remember. So tell us, my friend, in the last 4 minutes or so you got left. So, what's life now like? You've shared with me some really encouraging things, and in the last couple minutes we got. Why don't you share with everybody, what's life now and what's a little bit into the future? I know the future's, open to change, and you understand that, and you're ready to bend with it. But why don't you give us a little bit of insight on what's going on with you now?
For my future, I really don't know yet. I'm just taking one day at a time. I don't want.
Where'd you learn that?
Oh.
Just kidding.
But when I came down the hill, I never would have thought I'd be working at a fast food place. But the opportunities are growing there. Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, manager's test. So I've been blessed in that area. But when I graduate the program, I'm not sure yet. My dad.
That was some humility for you, right?
Very much so, yes.
You were like, hey, man, I worked in professional, I was a corrections officer, and I mean, you actually, because of the way you left, you could have gone back to something like that. And you were like, hey, maybe I need to just humble myself and just get a job that can pay bills, right?
Right.
And you went and you got a job at Zaxby's. And you did that, and you did your best. And now you're actually saying, hey, you know what? I didn't expect it to be this way. And I actually kind of think I might want to get into, see what the growth that can happen here with me at Zaxby's.
Yeah, there's potential. I've thought about culinary school when I get back. I just got to stay in God's will, whatever.
Discovered you like to cook, come in here, even though you didn't like the people you're cooking for most of the time at Freedom Farm.
Yeah,
Discovered you like to cook.
I actually started to cook for the first time. I cooked for the Safe House. No one wanted to cook. And I asked one of the guys in the program, I was like, hey, will you teach me to cook? I'll take over. And I guess that's where it started. I actually enjoy it. But the program, it saved my life. If I wouldn't have found Christ, I'd still be out using. The devil will. I used to always say, God, why did you let my cousin die? Why are you doing this to me? But it's not God that's doing it, it's the devil. With my growth now, all the trials and tribulations, sometimes I feel like I still get angry sometimes, but it's like he's testing me. He's pulling the reins back just to see where my growth is and testing my faith, which I still struggle with. But I didn't really know Christ before I came here, so. But what's 1 year for the rest of my life? I'll continuously grow, and just gotta rely on Him in every aspect of your life, which I struggle with still, surrendering some areas of my life, like my family. I try to do things on my own still, but surrender is definitely a big thing when it comes to anything, addiction, anything that you're going through in life. You got to surrender it to the Lord, and He will provide. That's one of the biggest thing that I've got from this program.
Well, we've pretty much come to the end of the show, ran out of time. Make sure you give a stare to the camera and tell your wife how much you love her for sticking by you. All right, and you can do that. Say,
I love you, Katie. Thank you for sticking by me. It means a lot to me.
I didn't have to twist his arm to do that, but there's a lot of healing going on there that we really didn't get into, and that's kind of private. But I've been really encouraged hearing about how you and your wife, even at the distances that you're at, how you're working on the relationship. I mean, folks, they're reading books over the phone together, and he's taking love language tests and finding out things, and it's been very, very encouraging. Oh, look at that. You did a great job, babe. Look at that. She's right on Facebook. All right. We just went on, so. Oh. Sorry, folks, but that is the cue that the show is over. We'll see you next week.
That was kind of rough, but that works. That was a good show.
It was, man. Very good. Go ahead and hand me that phone, will you? Look at that. I got you.